الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Welcome everybody to the Safina Sadi Nothin But Facts live stream on an absolutely gorgeous, totally gorgeous day in the great state of New Jersey, where the weather is perfect, the breeze is perfect, and I'll tell you what happens in this part of the country when you get the humidity goes up, and it becomes unbearable to be outside because the humidity is so high. Then you get an hour, 2-3 hours of really hard rain. The next day is always the prettiest day. The humidity is low, humidity is down, and that's basically how it is. So that's what you look for. You wait for the humidity to go all the way up, then it breaks. Complete gush of rain. And then all of a sudden you get a beautiful 2-3 days until the humidity goes up again. Are we ready to do the Texas update? If not, I could start with Khilafah. Do Khilafah? Okay. All righty. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let's talk about Khilafah in the Maliki school. There is an organization called Ummatics. Maybe some people really don't know about it, but organization called Ummatics, where they want to talk about the affairs of the Ummah in the same way that politics is the affairs of the city. So Ummatics is essentially the study of matters of the Ummah. And here we're going to talk about the Khilafah in the Maliki school. And the Maliki school, of course, is, I would say, no different as a summary of any of the other schools. We believe in the Khilafah. We have the Khilafah texts, many texts about the Khilafah. And basically, I had the privilege, really, to do the research for this website on the Maliki authorities on the Imamate. So the Imama, Khilafah, when we say Khilafah and Imamate, it's the same thing. It's Imam al-Kubra. Although al-Imama is broader than a Khilafah. The Khilafah has some very strict conditions to be called Khilafah. But anyone who essentially is the leader of a group of people can be called their Imam. Okay? So that's why Imama is big. But when we say Al-Imam al-Uzma or Al-Kubra, it oftentimes refers to the Khilafah. So we'll take a look at these. You can get this on Ummatics. Omar, can you post the link when you get a minute on the Khilafah? And the Middle East does not like to talk about this. The Arab countries despise this subject because they know that you inspiring any kind of Islamic governance, that you're basically essentially saying that you guys need to go or need to change all your ways. So here, it's a prerequisite. The Khilafah is a prerequisite to, or Sulta in general. Having a government is a prerequisite to fulfill a lot of conditions in the Sharia, commandments in the Sharia, such as holding court, such as the punishments, such as waging war against the enemy. So just from that aspect, the proof for Khilafah is rational. There's a rational proof. That's the rational proof that we can't do it. We can't do a lot of things Allah commanded without it. So the textual proof is the actual action of the Prophet and the Sahaba. There's no discussion on that. There is ijma'. The Sahaba have ijma' upon this. And of course the Prophet did it, and that's mutawatir that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam ruled. and there was no other ruler besides him. And that's the overarching politics and the political vision that Muslims have to have. And this is the type of thing, if you're in the Emirates or these countries, will basically get you banned from talking or even setting foot in the country, is essentially what I'm about to say is all of these borders should be dotted lines. In the past, people used to say, erase the borders. No, that's not right. Dotted lines. These, or thin lines. So these borders now represent the borders between states in a federal union, in a unified federation, which is the Ummah of Islam. So Algeria, Egypt, Sudan become states in a federation. No different than Arkansas, Alabama, and Montana, and Maine. They have their rights to do whatever they want in their local communities within limits. The federal government unifies the currency, sets the currency, the federal highway system, travel between each state, and also each state provides soldiers for the army based on their population. So if your population is 1 million, you provide X per every million. That's it. For every 1 million people that you have in your country, estimate, you provide X amount of soldiers. That's it. And each heads of these nations choose one amongst themselves. They choose one amongst themselves to lead for a set term. And each one of these nations, based on their population, sends a number of shura members. Let's say you want a 100-person shura committee. Let's say you put it at that. And Algeria has twice the population as Tunisia. So Algeria will send twice the number of shura members. Egypt has 1.5 times as Algeria. So Egypt will send that amount. And you break it down in an algebra equation, right? 100 divided by the population divided by each person. So X per million, whatever. Okay. But let me tell you that this vision is nothing but a bunch of talk and a bunch of hot air. I'll tell you why. The condition and the real way in which the change will happen is the heart's return to the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not even going to tell you the obedience. Because obedience, it may happen, it may not happen based on your strength. Okay. Obedience followed with the attempt to obey, disobedience after the attempt to obey Allah ta'ala. Followed by tawbah. So in the beginning, I'm fully committed to obedience. I'm weak. I fall into disobedience. I followed up immediately with tawbah. You've wiped out your sins and you are with Allah ta'ala mahbub. You're loved by Allah. Why do I say that love is the key here? Love with the attempt to obey. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks exactly about people who get replaced and the people who replace them. من يرتد منكم عن دينه فسوف يأتي الله بقوم يحبهم ويحبونه أذلة على المؤمنين عزة على الكافرين يجاهدون في سبيل الله ولا يخافون لومة لائم. People whose hearts are enraptured with Allah and His Messenger is the precondition for all this. You can take every single philosophy of reestablishing the Khilafah and burn it. If you don't have this condition, you're not going to get success. And if you do have this condition, if you do fulfill this condition, then you can have nothing and Allah will give you every single one of them. He'll give you the vision, He'll give you the know-how, and I'll tell you who fails. The people who sit around and say, you know what are we going to do with the banking system? Don't establish anything unless you have all the questions answered. These people are failures in life. They don't do anything except talk. In the world of achieving, you just take the first step and your heart is fully committed to this. You just take the first step. I have no clue how this is going to happen. Literally have no clue, except that in the broad sense, I know it's possible. Broadly, it's possible. So that you do have to use a little bit of brains. But your heart is like this thing, it will never come out of your heart. It's almost like you take blue dye and put it in water. Put it in milk, mix it up. You're never extracting the blue dye out of the milk. That's what we mean. That heart has to be so in love with its creator and so committed to him, it sees nothing else. That's the heart that's going to succeed. And in anything you do, if you are in love with the result, and that result can never be pulled out of your heart, as long as you take the first step, Allah provides you everything you need. And you're going to have ridiculous obstacles. They're going to go away. over time. So that's why I think that's far more important, a precondition that nobody talks about. If you get a speech right now, to get all the Islamists is the one who he promotes an Islamic political view. That's the term for the Islamist. That's what he's busy with, the Islamic political viewpoint. And you gave this talk, they'd be yawning, they'd be rolling their eyes, they'd say, what kind of dervish is this? Right? This is a bunch of darwasha. This is the reason we're here, right? Because all these dervishes sat around remembering Allah. That's why, okay, well, let's turn the table. It's been how many years since the Khilafah collapsed? Where's your result? It's just getting worse, right? So the Islamist ideas, they're great ideas, but oftentimes, and I'm taking this from Shaykh al-Bouti. Shaykh al-Bouti, and I know many people say he did this, that, and the other in Syria. I'm not going to defend everything what I don't know. I can't defend what I don't know. Okay, and there are things I do know that were brought to my attention because I didn't pay attention to the politics of Syria at that time, that I have nothing to say, okay? So many people are going to say, oh, the moment you say Shaykh al-Bouti's name, they're going to, a slew of attacks. I'm not making anyone innocent, okay? But I'm saying his scholarship is to be relied on. And what happened before that, nobody ever in Sham disputed that he was one of their imams. So we're not going to throw out every single thing he said because of a couple statements that, yes, it's possible. Did we follow him because he's Masoom, by the way? There was a scholar one time. He decided to test his murids. So his sister came to visit. And he was seen taking her out for maybe picking up from the train, maybe take her out for coffee or something. Then ushered her in from the back door. And for a few days, people saw this. Right? And the word spread that he's consorting with a woman. And many people left the sheikh. But one didn't. One youth, he came to the classes outside. This is like a small-time sheikh. He is not popular or famous or anything. So he said, what's up with you? Why didn't you go with everybody else? After he realized afterwards, oh, they're all thinking I'm consorting with a woman. He said, no, brothers, this is my sister. Right? I said, oh, we didn't know you had a sister that was visiting, etc., etc., and the sheikh was single. So he said, everyone was talking about me, but you didn't. It's a small group of murids. What did you think? He said, first of all, I didn't follow you believing that you're Masoom. You're not a Nabi. I didn't follow you that you're a Nabi that doesn't make mistakes. You make mistakes. Shaykh al-Bouti, same thing. If he made mistakes, he made mistakes. Right? And if he made terrible blunders, he makes terrible blunders. Awayazni al-Wali, Abdul Qadir al-Jailani. Does the Wali commit zina? كان أمر الله قدر مقدورا. He said, وكان أمر الله قدر مقدورا. So I'm saying tasliman. I'm submitting to that all that you say about him is correct. Let's say hypothetically. We didn't follow him that he's a Nabi. His books are his books and they have his proofs. Right? His books are his books. The proofs are in the pudding. He speaks about matters that are objectively we can see if they're right or wrong. So if he's right about it, we can still read those books and listen to those lectures. Okay. Shaykh Asrar will bring you the Husn al-Dhan with the Shaykh arguments. All right. If he brings it and he finds it good, I'll follow that. Now listen. He said that, and I like his perspective, he said that most of the conferences about the Khilafah are excellent conferences. Conferences about Islamic politics, excellent, and he loves them and supports them. However, they're missing this prerequisite. They're missing this prerequisite. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, whoever turns their back on the deen, it doesn't always mean apostasy. It could mean apostasy, and it could possibly mean they no longer give Islam victory. And Shaykh al-Bouti said, that's all of us, Arabs, the Arab world, all of them. He said, give me 1,000 random Arabs. I cannot find, maybe, we'll find one who cares about Islam. One. Yeah, maybe they pray and fast, right? But to say, all right, let's get together and elevate Islam. No, that's dead in them. According to, general observation about Arabs. General observation about those countries. Gather a people, make a YouTube channel. Heya narfa rayat al-Islam. Let's raise the flag of Islam up. Firstly, the government will shut it down. And that's one of the reasons the people have been trained. They've been trained and inculcated in them absolute fear of this subject. Okay. Point being, he said, the verse says that those who do not seek to raise the flag of Islam, that's one of the meanings. or those who apostated out of Islam. They will not give victory to the deen. We will replace you with a people. Now, what is Allah's attribute here? Who have know-how? No. They have a lot of fiqh? No. They know the Quran inside out? No. They have a lot of money? No. They have an amazing vision? No. Allah says He brought you to the root of it all. They love Allah and He loves them and Allah loves them. They love Allah. Love is the root of the matter. Why? Because if you love something so much, Allah gives you everything else after that. The keys to everything is love. It's not saying we don't need a vision. It's not saying we don't need answers to this. Love also cannot be stopped. If you love something so much and you tell that person, all right, wait and let's analyze everything. Nothing drives the lover crazy more than someone saying, let's have a rational meeting and let's discuss things. Okay. These people are the killers of momentum, the killers of motivation. And they sit around and say, well, okay, you want to do this? How's the banking going to work? How's the currency? All that stuff will figure itself out. If your heart is set on something, it's going to happen whether you like it or not. Okay. Those things will come. So that's why the philosophy, that political vision of the dotted lines or the thin lines between the countries, that should be our political vision. But the prerequisite of all this stuff going on and happening is your heart. And of course, at the end of the day, right, as the Prophet ﷺ said, you're just one man. And that's what we're doing. There's a sphere of concern and there's a sphere of influence. You just put all your focus on the sphere of influence. You know, one of the tricks of Iblis? One of the tricks of Iblis is to, with the new convert, whether he's a convert out of Islam or out of ghafla, heedlessness, and he's now cares about Islam, busy him with spheres of concern. Let him never think twice about the day-to-day things. Let him never think twice about his the monotonous actions like making wudu properly, praying properly, fasting, taking care of your neighbor, taking care of your mom. Let him never worry about those things, those monotonous things. Let him only think of these huge, big picture things, right? And there's a whole lot of Muslims that are like that, and usually they're raised that way, to care about the ummah so much, yeah. But then you tell them, hold on a second, you can't wipe over ankle socks, not in any madhab. Like socks that go under the ankle. Like even if we said, okay, the Hanbali have a saying in this, the Hanabila, they say, and one time I told the guy this one time, I said, even if we said socks okay in the Hanbali school, not ankle socks, it's got to go above the ankle, right? And he said, all right, you guys said that's a problem with you fiqh students, right? We got wars going on in Iraq and Afghanistan. You guys care about wudu, right? That's the kind of logic that shaitan tricks them with. That all they care about is the big picture. Now, fast forward 20 years, and those guys achieve nothing. Literally have achieved zero. Talk. So the real precondition of the establishment of the deen are lovers. And Shaykh al-Bouti went on to attend some of these conferences. He said, wonderful lectures all day long, amazing discussions all night long. Musalla is empty before Fajr, and in Fajr a bunch of half asleep people mumbling 2 rak'ahs before they turn over asleep again. They don't. Where is mahabbat Allah? Where is dhikrullah? Zero. Islamic activism, it's not Islamic if you don't love the creator of Islam, right? It's not Islamic if you don't love the founder of Islam, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Activists, go and give this talk to activists, they will laugh at your face. That's why nothing works. Been active for 30 years. Nothing happened, right? It got worse. Let's actually look at every successful movement. They love the thing itself. Like they love the thing. They love it so much. So that's where, honestly, that's our philosophical difference. Philosophical difference, the emphasis on mahabba. Where is it? That emphasis on mahabba. Let's go to the first quote before we move on to a little summary of our trip to Dallas. Yeah. Now, by the way, there's a point someone gave up. Said, should we stop everything, love Allah, then continue? The answer is no. You continue everything that you're doing. You continue it all, but now you have to work on the foundation. It's almost like the foundation. We're building a house, but the foundation isn't done right. In this case, you can build the foundation and continue building the house. You don't, and this isn't to put a damper on anything. As I said, we have a policy. We support any Islamic activity. Any activity within the sound way of acting and or doing things and amal salih, we support it all, even if it has flaws within it. But in general, the big picture is good. We have to support it all. That's the ethic. That's our ethic. And the ethic of Habib Ahmad Mashur al-Haddad is no conflict with any Muslim. However, if a Muslim speaks ill and is astray, yeah, we talk about it. Okay, they do talk about it, and he has in the past. He says, Ibn Yunus. Firstly, who is Ibn Yunus? He's from Sicily. At least his origin is from Sicily. Let's give a little biography of Ibn Yunus. If you are a Maliki student, then this is a very important name for you to know. Sayyidina al-Imam Abu Bakr ibn Abdullah ibn Yunus. Who's singing? All right. All right, someone's having an opera outside. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but someone's doing an opera outside. All right. Yeah. No, this is one of those things like if it was at night and then we find out no one's home, right? The jinn. All right, Abu Bakr, Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Yunus. He died 450 after the Hijrah, 1060 in the Common Era, and he studied with Abu Imran al-Fasi and Abu al-Hasan al-Qabisi. So he's one generation down from Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani, all right, or two. And he authored al-Jami' li-Masail al-Mudawwana, and which became known as the Mus'haf of the Malikis for its authority in the Madhab. Khalil relied upon it. Okay. Khalil relied upon it for his final summary of the relied upon opinions in Maliki law. And Qadi Iyad said about Ibn Yunus, he was a jurist and a mathematician who excelled in inheritance law. So that's Ibn Yunus. And he says, وَأَنَّ إِقَامَةَ الْإِمَامِ مَعَ الْقُدْرَةِ عَلَيْهِ وَالْإِمْكَانِ مِنْهُ فَرْضٌ عَلَى الْأُمَّةِ لَا يَسَعْ تَرْكُهُ وَلَا التَّخَلُّفْ عَنْهُ. The iqamah of the imam, one imam for all of the Muslims, is wajib. Okay. Fard ala al-ummah. Fard kifaya. There is no reason ever to leave it off. وأنه موكول إلى أهل الحل والعقد دون النص من الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم. What does this phrase mean? دون النص من الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم. It means that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم did not specify an individual. ردا على الشيعة. If the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam specified a Khalifa, Sayyidina Ali, at Ghadir Khum, this area of land called the Ghadir Khum, then why would he need to write it later on? If he said it in front of 10,000 Sahaba at Ghadir Khum and they all understood that it means Ali is the Khalifa, how is it possible for it not to happen? Sayyidina Umar couldn't bully 10,000 people? All right, then here's ask another question. If Sayyidina Umar allegedly stopped the Prophet ﷺ on Thursday from writing down his wasiyah, which was assumed to be Sayyidina Ali to be the Khalifa on Thursday, we ask two questions. Number one, why would he need to write it down when he already said it? That's number one. What's stronger? When the Prophet himself wasn't writing it so that we know his handwriting, right? Someone else is writing it, and there are 2-3 witnesses in the house. Why would you need 2-3 witnesses when you have Ghadir Khum 10,000 Sahaba? Let's go to the second question. You are assuming then that Sayyidina Umar knew the Prophet would die. Then how was 3 days later, when the Prophet ﷺ actually passed away, Sayyidina Umar was in shock and said, everyone's spreading this rumor, I'm going to cut his neck off, cut his head off. So therefore, on Thursday, he didn't expect the Prophet to die. If he's shocked about it on Monday, he definitely didn't assume the Prophet was going to pass away on Thursday. So your argument makes no sense. The facts don't add up here. As you guys say, the math isn't mathing here, right? It doesn't add up for him to be shocked on Monday that the Prophet passed away, but he was expecting the Prophet to pass away on Thursday. Well, why would he be shocked on Monday? Doesn't make any sense. Not making sense. So this phrase, دون النص من الرسول, means without any specification from the Prophet ﷺ, and therefore it is the job of أهل الحل والعقد, another phrase that you commonly see in all the books. In usul al-fiqh, أهل الحل والعقد refer to the mujtahid imams. But in Khilafah, not everyone has to be a mujtahid imam that could have a say in who's the Khalifa. What's the proof of this? Sayyidina Abdurrahman ibn Auf, he went and he did istishara with everyone in Medina. He did not limit it to the mujtahid imams. And not everyone, even himself, was not a mujtahid. Right? So you could say, oh, maybe he was asking opinion, but he himself has the decision. Show me one fatwa that he gave. Abdurrahman ibn Auf ma kana min mujtahidi sahaba. He was not from the mujtahids of the Sahaba. Okay? وأنه مفروض الكفاية وإذا قام ببعض سقط عن الباقين. Everyone should know the meaning of fard kifaya, communal obligation. If some people do it, then it's not an obligation on other people to do it. وأنه واجب طاعة الأئمة وإعظامهم وتوقيرهم. And it is an obligation to honor your leaders. You may be better than your leader, but Allah put him there for a reason. And therefore, you have to honor him. One of these texts mentioned the inward attitude towards your Khalifa. You have to love him too. You have to honor him. And of course, that's if he's righteous. If what he's doing is valid in the Sharia. Okay. So he says, إعظامهم وتوقيرهم. How are you going to have aggrandize someone and honor them without some love for them? وطاعة خلفائهم والنائبين عنهم. And you have to obey. We believe in law and order in this religion. Law and order begins from the household. It begins really from the individual. There's law and order within my own life, supplied by the Sharia. Then when I have an organization or I have a home or I have a family, there's law and order. There's shura. We take counsel with the people who have an interest in the matter. But the leader, we have responsibility. The leader's got to make a decision, and it's on his neck. The leader cannot say what basically happens here in democracies. I didn't really want to do it, but the Senate said I have to do it. No, we can't have that. Okay. And we have obedience. We got to go to follow the leader. We don't follow him upon what is disobedience to Allah. وترك المسابقة لهم وذلك متفق عليه للمستقيم منهم. All of this is for the one who is upright. Okay, leave off animosity towards him, okay, and disagreement with them if they are upright and you just differ in opinion. By the way, on this matter of opinion, I want to share something that many people get told when they say, hey, we follow a madhab. Brother, here's the hadith. Oh yeah, but I'm Hanafi and the ruling says this, or I'm Maliki and the ruling says this. Brother, I'm giving you a sahih hadith. And then the brother, the poor Maliki and Hanafi who doesn't know his evidences, he says, I'm just going to go with the madhab. And then the other person says to him, إِنَّا وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا عَلَى أُمَّةٍ وَإِنَّا عَلَى آثَارِهِمْ مُهْتَدُونَ. Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Al-Zukhruf, I believe it is, that the messenger comes, tells people about Tawheed, and the pagan then says, well, we find our fathers worshipping these idols, so we'll follow them too. What's the difference? That's what they corner you. Are you going to say you're going to follow the madhab over the Sahih Hadith? Okay? Ahad Sahih Hadith? Inna wajadna aba'ana ala ummatin wa inna ala athari muhtadun. No. Because one is in something in which there is no opinion. Tawheed. The other, he can follow his madhab on matters of opinion. I can make taqleed on matters of opinion. I cannot make taqleed on matters of qata'. That's the difference. And that's why that little trick that people use doesn't work. That little trick is in an invalid, it's a little logical trick. Inna wajadna aba'ana ala ummatin. We found our fathers doing all this, so we're going to keep doing it. And what is the average madhabi who's, let's say he's a Hanafi? He doesn't study, maybe he studies here and there, but he's a Hanafi. If he has a question, he just goes to the Hanafi Shaykh or he reads a Hanafi book or Hanafi website, right? And he follows. He's a muqallid. You can make taqleed on matters of ijtihad and dhann. You cannot make taqleed on aqaid, on usul, ad-din. And so this matter has to do with Tawheed versus paganism, is not a qiyas on matters of ijtihad. So take that and keep that in your back pocket for when somebody shows you, hey brother, here's the evidence. Yeah, I don't want you bringing evidence. I'm going to follow the madhab that's been doing this for 1,000 years, not you. Now don't come and tell me inna wajadna aba'ana ala ummatin. All right, where'd we leave off? وَيَلْزَمُ إِذْكَارُهُ بِاللَّهِ. You have to remind the Imam of Allah, and you have to make dua for her, to him. Dua, and you have to invite him to obedience if he's straying. All right. وقال أبو محمد وكل ولي المسلمين عن رضا أو عن غلبة فاشتدت وطأته من بر أو فاجر فلا يخرج عليه جار أو عدل ويغزى معه العدو ويحج البيت وتدفع الصدقات إليهم وهي مجزية إذا طلبوها وتصلى خلفهم الجمعة والعيدين. So he's basically saying here, every leader of the Muslims established by the consent of the Muslims or through force such that his dominance is established, okay, no just or unjust person should rebel against him. The enemy is to be fought with him, hajj is to be performed with him, zakat is to be paid to him, and it is valid if he asks for it. In other words, to say, give us some of the zakat, give us the zakat and we'll distribute it. And Friday prayer and the 2 Eids are to be prayed behind him. Okay. We'll read the rest later. Let's go to our summary of our Texas trip. And you could read the rest of the Ummatics article yourselves. It's at Omar, can you put the link up there? Right. All right, Texas trip, I have to say, was really great. I had a really warm welcome from Epic, and here's a picture of the Shabab there that stayed. They stayed for a mini hangout after the talk. And Epic, the masjid, it's something impressive, I have to tell you. There's literally a strip mall on the masjid property. And when you park there, it's as if you're parking at Target. And huge parking lots, like mall. Like the saying, everything is bigger in Texas is really true. And the president of Epic came afterwards, and we had a nice meeting. And like very cordial, very welcoming, very warm. Sheikh Yasser Qadi, of course, was there. And very welcoming and warm. And so Epic, the musalla is wide. It's about 100 people per row, and there's 11 rows. I counted, actually, because we had prayed, and they were praying Isha, and we were travelers, so it was just like waiting in the back for them to finish their salah and make their announcements. And so they told me 700. Sometimes it doesn't look like 700, but it was actually. There was 1,000 people at Isha, because I did a quick scan. There's 50 heads to the imam, and I just doubled it. And then I counted 11 rows back, and for that Aisha, it was 10 rows. There's 1,000 people at Aisha. When NBIC is full, it has an actual bigger appearance of fullness, because the rows are maybe, I don't know, maybe less than 50 people, less than 100 people for sure. So there's a lot of rows. It's like a rectangle this way. Epic was a rectangle this way. Aside from the musalla, though, there was a massive gym. There was, in the masjid itself, you go into the parking lot. If you were to take a lap around the parking lot, you're going to find a strip mall where you can get, there's a UIF office. There were some other stores. I didn't know what it was, but it was a strip mall. You wrap around further, you see there's a fence, and there are all the homes. Homes. And this is not efficiency homes, budget homes. These are big budget homes, like gorgeous homes, mansions, you could say. Really, McMansions. Right, literally. You open your blinds, you see the masjid. And then you keep going, there's construction on a K through 12 school on the same property. Extremely impressive. You come out, immediately across the street is another epic mall, which is another strip mall that has the Haraz coffee shop, probably like a burger joint, other stores. And it says on top, Epic Mall, so they own that strip mall too. You got to be impressed when you get there. I was totally impressed. Now that's on the east side. Let's scan through these pictures real quick. Here, it's a house on the west side, which is Valley Ranch. Valley Ranch is that's one of the brothers' homes that had a dhikr in it. I'm open about that. I do dhikr. Okay? I'm open about it. I believe in it. What can I tell you? I believe in that it's a not only valid and good, and I accept that it's mukhtalaf fihi. Wait, I don't have no choice to accept that it is mukhtalaf fihi. Right? And particularly in the Maliki school, by the way, let me tell you. Okay? Particularly in the Maliki. I'm accepting musallam. I'm accepting that. And so we did it in the houses there. And we did dhikr in that house. And it was a great reception. Now, that house was on the west side of Dallas, which is Valley Ranch. Valley Ranch is another amazing structure where you have a masjid, then there's like a street, then across from that street you have 3 developments. 50%, I would say, are Muslims in these developments. They weren't built by Muslims, but they're gorgeous developments, beautiful homes, beautiful construction, not cheapo stuff with siding, vinyl siding, no vinyl siding. Brick all around, and amazing designs, and some Islamic designs. Like one of them was, one house has like a rounded pillar with like an Ottoman-looking cone, like one of those where what's that Disney character Nutella or something? She puts her hair out. What's her name? Yeah, you haven't watched Disney for a long time. Rapunzel comes out and puts her hair out. So it's so gorgeous structures, right? Smaller plots, but gorgeous structure. You see the prayer time people, a lot of people walking back and forth. So, and that's Shaykh Omar Suleiman's masjid. Okay, then we went to another masjid. Look at this guy. Get this guy married quick.
His brother is single.
Get that guy married quick. He's going to get me, and he's going to say, oh my gosh, you're going to give me a hasad. So we won't say his name. All right, next picture. All right, so this here was, it seems like every masjid can probably make an argument for being the biggest masjid in the country. And this masjid was massive. Literally, I'm telling you, ShopRite parking lots. ShopRite parking lots. You walk, and then this masjid has a massive gym. Musalla, very, very wide. Maybe wider than Epic. This is called ICI. Used to be Sheikh Nouman Ali Khan's masjid. He used to be the president of this masjid. All right. Mute us on whatchamacallit. Okay. So that was a great majlis with the youth there. Huge masjid. I'm telling you, Houston and Dallas have 4 masajid in them that I went to in the past few months. All of them probably are the top 5 biggest in size. Then we had Jum'ah in another Baptist mega church that was purchased by the Islamic community. This is it right here, called Saxi. I mean, obviously, you don't see any size here, but this literally a campus. They have 4 buildings. 4 buildings. Massive, humongous masjid. You need a scissor lift to change the light bulbs up. You know what a scissor lift is? It's a truck, yeah, that has an accordion lift. Okay, and you'd have to, like, with a remote control, go up 15, 20 feet.
Like what they do with street lamps.
That's how they change street lamps. Next picture. All right, that's meeting Salman, one of my hosts. He's basically one of the epic youth, essentially. Next one.
That was the last one.
And that was the last one. So I'm impressed with the hype. The hype is I would say very, very,
it's epic,
real there. Yep, it is epic, and I'm surprised at how the dhikr had such a great reception, to be honest with you. Right? Invited to a number of podcasts and live streams there, but obviously couldn't do it at that time. It was a short trip. What was the one called? 3 Muslims or what? 3 Brothers? Podcast?
3 Muslim podcasts.
3 Muslim podcasts. Okay, yeah. Couldn't make it though. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
I have a question about this.
Yes, تفضل.
Are these communities on like Muslim timing though? Like, is it like between Maghrib and Isha, it's silent on the streets, and like after Fajr, everyone's in the masjid, or is it still not there yet? Where the schedule has become like Muslim timing too?
Probably
Like
not that
9 to 5
as.
type of thing.
Probably still on a 9 to 5 life because of work,
Yeah.
and even the schooling is on that
Yeah.
schedule.
Right.
But you could definitely see on the weekends. There was another masjid in Plano, massive. It's like unreal how humongous these masajid are. That I went to before, Sheikh Arsalan's masjid, and I walked in, and there must have literally been no less than 2,000 people in the building. But they were there. It was like from Dhuhr to Asr. They had different events, right? And then again, Asr comes, the numbers increase again. Then they decrease. Then Maghrib comes, the numbers increase again. And they're there for different events. What is this? Who are all these? What crew is this? Cometh and sitteth. And you are? Zayd min al-nas. Who are Zayd who?
Zayd.
And you are Amr? Hamza. Okay. Nahwa joke there. And you are? Abu Bakr. So Zayd and Hamza and Abu Bakr. Are you from Caltech or what?
From Berkeley.
Berkeley. We got some liberals in the house. If you get too close, you might get liberal. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So from Berkeley, California.
Yeah.
Gorgeous area of California. All right. Probably one of the prettiest countries in part of. Are you from Berkeley too?
No, I'm from Rutgers.
Rutgers,
Yeah.
Berkeley, and Hamza.
Berkeley as well, yeah.
And what do you guys do in Jersey?
We pulled up first, visited a cousin, went to ICNA, and then
MashaAllah.
visiting some friends here.
That's great. ICNA had another huge event recently. Everyone went there. MashaAllah. So you're doing an East Coast tour.
Yeah.
Until when?
Until Thursday, inshallah.
Thursday night?
Yeah, Thursday morning.
Oh, too bad you're going to miss Maqasid.
Yeah.
You got the Mawlid and Maqasid. Yeah. I think we can make a tour package weekend,
Yeah.
right? We can get Dar es Salaam to make it, right? Where people come to the Friday to MBIC, Jum'ah, lunch, dhikr. Thursday, they come in, fly in Thursday afternoon, go to Maqasid, Friday come here, Saturday we'll have Sheikh Yasser to do something, right? And then Saturday in New York. Saturday go to New York, right? You got to check out the city, right? I probably should go to New York first, then get purified, right? At the dhikr sessions. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go to our guest today. We have an amazing guest who was, believe it or not, my host over 20 years ago. When I landed at Sana'a, I was picked up by this beautiful brother. The topic of today's live stream is Dawah in the Caribbean. And let's go introduce our guest. Where is our guest? Ayyuha Shaykh. There he is. Allahu Akbar. MashaAllah. He's muted. Unmute him. Okay, unmute. There you go. All right. MashaAllah. Let's... now, if you can move over slightly, because you're on the one side of the camera. There you go. That way. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, that way. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Or you could zoom it in, too, if you want. Zoom in or zoom out, whatever you want. Okay, you're good. MashaAllah. On the stream today, our guest is Jamaludeen Hysaw. He is a sheikh, and he is an da'iyah. And he has done work in the Dominican Republic. Welcome to the live stream. Welcome to Nothin But Facts. All right, Omar, we're ready to put him on. Bismillah. Here we go. And here we go. This is our guest for today, Shaykh Jamaludeen Hysaw. Welcome to the Safin Saadi Nothin But Facts live stream.
All right, Nothin But Facts. I like that. Mashallah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you perfect.
Cool. You know, I came outside because inside my house is like a cave. It's just super dark. Lighting is terrible. I come outside. It was nice, quiet. And then all of a sudden, people across the street started blasting music.
Oh my God, we can't hear it.
So you guys are gonna hear city sounds, perhaps, maybe.
No problem.
You know, mashallah. But anyways, happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Where are you recording from? Are you from Atlanta? Are you in Atlanta now, or are you still in the DR?
No, I'm in Atlanta now. I left the DR in 2014.
Oh, mashallah. So you're in the Dominican Republic way back then, and then you came back, and
Right.
you've been back in Atlanta since then.
That's correct.
Do you remember that evening when you picked me up from the Sana'a airport?
I do not, and I
Oh,
apologize.
and you took me to
Wait,
Izbit al-Mustafa in Sana'a.
Subhanallah. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Izbit
MashaAllah.
al-Mustafa.
When you started talking about, it, I was like, I did that.
Yeah, that was you.
Yeah, I did do that. MashaAllah. MashaAllah.
Now, I have my own experience with the Dominican Republic. I spent 2 weeks in the Dominican Republic last year.
Right.
And Santo Domingo is the main city there. So
Right,
tell us
Santo
about,
Domingo is
and
the
there is a
capital.
masjid there, a big masjid. I would say it's a pretty big masjid that now has a Yemeni imam. Which masjid were you at the Dominican Republic?
I was there first. I was in Santo Domingo. I lived in a city just outside of it called San Isidro. And I would just kind of go back and forth. And then I moved to Santiago
Okay.
and was working with the community up there. Yeah.
And tell us, do you have a Caribbean background that connected you there?
Well, on my father's side, my grandfather is Dominican.
Oh, okay.
So
So you're really going back to your roots in a sense.
kind of, sort of, but I mean, being there showed me how Black American I really am.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? My mother's not Dominican. My father's mother is not Dominican. So, you know what I mean? And here's the deal. You know, when you grow up and you have a one-parent household, and that one parent happens to be mom, you are whatever mom is. You know what I mean?
No, there's no
So-
connection to pass anything down. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
if mom is speaking a different language, you're going to speak that language. You're going to
That's
know
it.
all of mom's culture. You know, in the Latino community, if, you know, la abuela, Latina,
Yeah.
tu vas a hablar español. You know
That's
what I
what
mean?
you are, yeah.
You're just going to be speaking Spanish. That's just how it goes, you know.
Now, did you learn Spanish, or how did you pick it up?
Learned a little bit here, but didn't really perfect it till I got there.
Okay.
And two, my ex-wife, she's Costa Rican.
Okay.
So there's a lot of Spanish in the household.
And so that's what you used to do the dawah there.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
I mean, both English as well as Spanish, because there are a lot of English-speaking people there on the island.
So that that masjid that I'm talking about in Santo Domingo, and
Yeah.
that's the masjid you were the imam at.
No, I was never the imam there.
Oh, okay.
I just did a little work there. Well, actually, to be honest with you, my goal when I went to the Dominican Republic was not, honestly, it wasn't to work with the masjid. My goal going to the Dominican Republic was to help bring Islamic education to the Dominican people so that they can start feeling more empowered,
I got you.
right? Because my first time going there, which was in 2000, I want to say 2008, maybe 2007. And I kind of did not like the way I saw Dominican people being treated by people from indigenous Muslim countries. And so what I felt was that they needed someone to help them learn about Deen, not just kind of here and there and just kind of be spotty, because there really weren't any solid classes for the Muslims.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to provide that solid class void and be able to teach the Muslims there, so they could feel, again, more empowered about in terms of what they were doing. And, you know, it's not, well, we know Islam, you just follow what we tell you to do type of stuff. You know, now we have sources we can go to on our own. We've studied fiqh, we've studied hadith, we've studied language, we understand what we need to do. Then it went from there to, you know what, maybe we need to start our own masjid, you know. But we started out with that, but then it kind of crumbled. And then I decided, you know what, I'm not staying in Santo Domingo. And I went to Santiago and became the imam there.
So, how many? What are the numbers there in terms of the indigenous people as Muslims, in terms of the population, the numbers and the percentage, roughly speaking?
You know, and that will be rough because, you know, there are a lot of people that are Muslim that are just like in little pockets, little small villages and things like that. And you don't know they're there until you happen to visit and you have a kufi on and they see you and they come give you salam. You know what I mean? So you know, honestly, I mean, the percentage is small. When I was there, I would like to say there were about 500 Muslims that were immigrant over, you know, an entire country.
Yeah.
About 500, I would say.
And how many
Then-
converts?
Yeah. So when you look at the indigenous amount, I would probably say then maybe about 100, between 60 to 100 Muslims.
Tell me about the Dawah. How did they enter Islam?
Most of them because they come to the masjid. Some of them, you know, may have read something here or there. And, you know, they just kind of found Islam to be the, you know, the way that they've, you know, that resonates most with them. Like, you know, most everybody else here in the U.S. anyways. That's pretty much how it happens, you know, in the beginning. Then somebody meets somebody, you know, someone from, you know, there may be a Venezuelan Syrian who moved to the Dominican Republic, who now is like, look, I met you, I'm doing some work, doing business or whatever. You've been working with me. I want to bring you to the masjid. You know, you see it. Next thing you know, they become Muslim. So it's usually kind of like that.
So sort of
associations.
Random.
Yes, very, very random.
How about the internet? Does that play? Did that have a part to play?
Very little. From the people that I met, and we're talking about then, right now, I can't speak on it, but then it wasn't so much the internet as much. I mean, people will do research, of course, but a lot of people became Muslim because of basically associations, or they happened to see somebody, they've learned about the masjid, got curious, and wanted to come by and check it out.
Okay, good. So then did you end up teaching them like Aqidah and Fiqh and Tasawwuf?
I wound up teaching Fiqh. I wound up teaching some Aqidah, mainly Tawheed, not as much Aqidah. I focus more on Tawheed. And the Tasawwuf part, I didn't have to really talk too much about, to be honest with you. You know, make no mistake, there is a small Salafi presence. It wasn't that great, small presence. But for the most part, everybody was kind of down with doing dhikr and involved with afkar. Now in Santo Domingo, however, where you had more, you know, an Arab population, now some of them weren't down with all of that. Even though brothers were still going to the masjid on Fridays and do their darood after Jum'ah, that kind of thing. There was still some of the Arabs who were like, you know, this is bid'ah, yada, 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 but it didn't really stop anything.
Yeah. All right, good. So how are your students now, since you left?
Well, one is in Tarim,
MashaAllah.
with he and his wife. The rest, you know, still trying to make their way. Well, one is in New York, the other's in New York. Another sister, she's still holding strong in Punta Cana. And, you know, the masjid that I left, they're still really moving strong.
So in that case, you did plant a seed. Someone's studying with his wife there and is going to come back and study, right?
Yeah.
That's or teach and be their leader there.
Bismillah.
That's great. That's great.
You know.
All right, good. So now from there you went to Atlanta. Let's go backwards now from your study experience.
Okay.
From Atlanta, you are from the OGs of people who went abroad to study before it was really something that took off, and Syria was the first spot. How did you end up going from Atlanta to Syria?
I'll give you the short version.
Yeah.
I met at that time he was just known as he was known as Nur Hamim Keller. Right, the translator of Reliance of the Traveler.
Yeah.
You know, when the book was like this thick and it was like a brick, you know, and he when I met him, he was the first knowledgeable person that I had ever met, like genuinely knowledgeable.
Subhanallah.
I've been duped by a lot of people, but when I met him, he was doing a book tour, and I asked the magic question about tasawwuf.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that sparked a lot of things, and he wound up giving me his business card. Mistake from one perspective, because I was calling him every day. I mean, literally almost every day. To the point where I think he and his wife got tired of it and was like, "Would you like to come and study?"
Subhanallah.
You know what I mean? And my first answer was no. I had other plans. But then his wife said to me, if you are refusing to come and study your deen for some pursuit of this dunya, then know everything in your life is going to fail.
Subhanallah.
Right? What do you do after that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's outside of let me get that passport ready.
Yeah.
Let me get my money ready. And that's what I did.
And you're probably in your early 20s at this point.
I was 25. 24, 25.
So that book tour came through Jersey too. The masjid that we're at, that is here, MBIC, was one of his, I think the first stop of that famous book tour on Reliance of the Traveler.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
And it was a little nook at Remsen Avenue. And I attended that lecture. And as I said before, did not understand a word from I was 13 years old when I attended that lecture. But it gave me, in my head, a backdrop that if and when I need deen, these are the guys who organized that book tour. I was friends with their younger brothers. And that's why young people attending stuff is beneficial, even if they don't understand anything. Because it gives them a backdrop, right? When a time comes, these are the guys I'm going to go to.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so you then went to Jordan, I assume.
Yeah, I went to Jordan first to kind of like get a briefing as to what to expect.
Yeah.
What we were going to do. And, I'll say something, that I think I kind of like, it's like, wow. Allah blessed me to be a lot of places before they were really popular.
Yeah.
And so I've got to experience some things that some people today will never get a chance to experience. You know what I mean? Like sitting in Sheikh Nua's home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Cooking dinner in his kitchen. You know what I mean? Making rice in his kitchen. You know what I mean? Going to see his little nook where his hammock was for resting and where he used to have his weights to work out with and things like that. Some of those things students will never see today. You know what I mean? It's a different time, different place. He's different position, different status. So life is different. I was there when Shaykh Abdul Rahman al-Shghuri, rahimahullah, gave Shaykh Nua the idhn to be a Shaykh.
Subhanallah. Tell us what that was like.
It was. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know anything about all of this. I didn't, you know what I mean? I'm still a relatively new Muslim. I accepted Islam in 92. And here it is 95, I'm in the Middle East. So 3 years later, I'm still kind of a new guy in this deen. And still barely knowing Aleph Bet Taf. So to be sitting in a room with our spiritual leader, and he hands this paper over and he explains that your Ijazah is in Islam wa Iman wa Ihsan. I was like, whoa. And I'm looking at Sheikh Jahar Brown like, what's happening here? And he's like, we're witnessing history.
Subhanallah.
I believe Sheikh Musa Ferber was also there, and he was like, yeah, this is deep.
Subhanallah.
This is something that you don't get a chance to really see. And I was like, subhanallah, this. And then I remember it was a very simple situation. It wasn't grandiose, it wasn't oud burning, and they were passing the oils around. It was just basic. We're sitting in the room. Sheikh is there. His servants were helping him out. And then he says a few things, and then he handed Sheikh Noor the Ijazah. He looks at it, he reads it, and accepts it, and then boom, that was it. And we walked outside, and I'm looking at Sheikh Noor, and I'm like, I don't even know how to act with you anymore. I mean, because in a sense, he was kind of like my friend, right? So now my friend is now the Sheikh, and I can't treat you like a friend anymore. You know what I mean? So it was deep. It was deep.
Tell everybody what is an ijazah
Mm.
for those who don't know.
Ijazah, okay, for those who don't know,
Yeah.
ijazah is basically saying it's like permission. It is something that connects the individual. It's like a chain. Like, we have the chain in Hadith, an Umar, an Abu so-and-so, an Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's the same type of thing. It's that ijazah system, our ijazah system connects us back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So through your knowledge, so it's stuff that's been checked, because everybody says, well, if you say one thing in the ear of one guy, by the time it gets to the 50th person, it's changed. No, not in the ijazah system, because if I'm talking to Dr. Shadee, I say this is what was said. Dr. Shadee, now tell me what I just told you. He repeats back to me what I've just said. Then I say, okay, you're authorized to pass that information, because I know that you know exactly what I said and you said it the way that I said it.
Yeah.
In other words, I've checked his knowledge. So there's no ambiguity, there's no guessing, there's no vagueness, or, oh, I thought, or maybe it was. No. I checked it, I affirmed it, and I gave him permission. And now he's in the chain with me, to the chain, the person that came before me, to the person that came before them, then them, then them, then them, then them, then them, inshallah, all the way back to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or if it's in a book, it takes you back to the author. If it's in dua, it takes you back to the originator of that dua, so on and so on. So I hope that's clear for you.
Great. So that's the ijazah. And is there a concept of an ijazah to be a spiritual guide to somebody?
Absolutely. You can't be a therapist without being certified.
Subhanallah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And is that not what a person of spiritual knowledge is? Someone that's like, he's helping you, as one sheikh told me, he's like the police officer, just kind of guiding you down the right path. But you gotta know the path. If you don't know the path, how are you guiding people down the path you don't know anything about?
Subhanallah.
You know what I mean? Now we got a lot of shaky sheikhs that are like that. But the reality is that you cannot be guiding people unless you know the path yourself and you've been given permission to guide others on that path. Period.
Tell us about some other shuyukh that you met at that time that form your early memories of that time period.
I mean, Sheikh Zayd Shakir, Sheikh Jihad Brown, Sheikh Musa Ferber, definitely my man, the general, Sheikh Ibrahim Osiefa, who was my companion even in Tarim, Yemen. Sheikh Abdul Karim Yahya, definitely.
No.
And those are just names that you might know, but those were the people that were there when I was there. There were a few others, some of the Syrian brothers. Astaghfirullah, forgive me, but I can't remember a lot of their names.
No.
I've got their faces here, I just can't remember their names. It's been decades since I've seen them or spoken to any of them, but there are a couple of them that have made a name for themselves and are doing very well, alhamdulillah. They know who they are, so if they're watching, please forgive me, brothers. I just couldn't remember your names, but your faces are in my heart.
How about some of the shuyukh that passed away since then?
Dr. Ramadan Bouti.
Tell us about that time period.
I used to go to his masjid a lot. What was interesting, in his masjid for Jum'ah, there's a level where you're looking right at him. I never like sitting there because he's a very serious and intense man. So when he's talking and he look at you and it's like, dang, it was like you told him talking to me. You know what I mean? Like I'm the one who did wrong. So I'd have to move. You know what I mean? And I would see Dr. Saeed walking sometimes to his home from the store, from the masjid, and then I would stop him from time to time. And he was very approachable, even though he didn't look like it. Right? His son, Sheikh Tawfiq, beautiful man. He actually came to our home one time. We had a dinner, and he came over, and one of the things he said to us that I remember, and I've always kept with me, and it's deep, but it's not that deep. He said to us about sajda.
No.
He said, when you go into sajda, you have to love sajda like you love a woman.
Subhanallah.
He said, because this is the time in which you are the closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you should want to be there. Like you should want to be in sajda at all times. So that's something he said to me that I thought was really profound. I mean, like I said, it stuck with me. And that was like in 1990. That was in the 1900s. So that was like, 1990. Yeah, it was 1996. Yeah, it was like the spring of 1996. 1996. Yeah.
So tell me then, did you attend Ma'had, what is it, An-Nur or Ma'had al-Fath?
Yeah.
There were two schools, right?
I went to Jami'at al-Nur.
Jami' al-Nur.
There are three. Jami'at al-Nur, Ma'had al-Fath, and the Amaniya.
No.
And I wanted to go to the Amaniya. I wanted to leave Abu Nur and go there, but I wound up going to Yemen instead.
So 3 years in Syria.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell us then, how did you end up in Yemen then?
So Sheikh Noor had taken a trip to Tarim.
Yeah.
And he came back and, he did one of his monthly meetings. He would come to Damascus and meet with all of us, and we'd all talk.
Yeah.
He shared his knowledge with us. And he was telling us about his visit to Yemen. And later, towards that summer, I think he went around the winter time.
Yeah.
So towards the spring, summer, he had gotten word from Habib Omar that they were having their Dawah Sayfiyah, and that if he wanted to send some students, please do. So when I heard that, I went to Sheikh Noor and asked if I could go. The first time he said no. But then he called me back the next day and was like, no, wife and I spoke and we decided that might be a good thing, because I had just got married, but my wife was back in the United States. And my plan was to go to the Amaniya for the summer and just really practice and work on my Arabic and really try to perfect it because it sucked. And so I was like ready to get out and do that. But then when I heard about Yemen, I was like, good thing. And I could get away from all these Westerners. That was another thing. So...
this is what, 1997 now?
About that, yes. The summer of 97. And he says, yeah, go ahead and go. Then that's when I found out Sheikh Abdul Kareem was going, Sheikh Ibrahim Osiefa was going, and another brother from Sheikh Noah's community named Ihab. May Allah be pleased with him. I heard he passed away.
And these are all your classmates in Syria now, right?
Well, two were, one wasn't. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so we went. All four of us went down to Tarim, and to be honest with you, it was everything I thought the Middle East was going to be. Because like when I first was going to Damascus, I didn't even know where it was. We didn't have internet. You can go look up stuff and look on the map. I literally had to pull out the encyclopedia, the book, and open it up and see what Syria looked like, and start reading about it. And then asking all these questions to everybody I could meet. But when I got to Tarim, okay, now I'm in the desert. Right now I'm in the desert. We met some young Habayab in Sana'a, because that's where we went first. There was the airlines was having a strike, so we wound up having to fly south to Makalla, and that's where we met Habib Qadim As-Saqaf. And he drove us all the way to Tarim, and then at that time they were having the Ziyarat Nabi al-Hud. So the visitation at the grave of the Prophet Hud. So we went to that area, and that's when everything just blew open for me.
Subhanallah. And that was a Dawah. Yeah. There was no translation at that time.
No, it's not the Dawah like you know now. Oh,
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's definitely not like what you know now. Not even close. Yeah, it was all Arabic. And the majority of the students were Yemenis from other parts of Yemen, because Tarim hadn't become known like that at that point. So it was just, Tarimis, other Hadramis, other people from like Aden and from Sana'a and Bayda and Taiz and other places. Muslims just from all over Yemen were coming.
How about Indonesians?
The students. Well, they were already there. They were already there because they were students already at the Dar. And so the Indonesian students were there. The few African students were already there that were already students. So they didn't really have much of a choice but to participate in the Dar. But
And at that point,
yeah.
how many students are there in Dar Mustafa
Not a
as a whole?
lot. Not a lot, because Dar Mustafa opened up when we got there. At first, there was just like a little building next door to Habib Omar's house where the students were staying. And they have classes in there, or in the Masjid Aidid, or in Habib Omar's home. So when I got there, so there were probably about, not including the the Dora students, I want to say there were probably about maybe 50 students, 60 students,
Subhanallah.
something like that.
So you had a lot of, I'm sure you had a lot of time with the shuyukh then.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, just I've been blessed. You know, I could go to Habib Omar at any time.
Subhanallah.
I just walk right up to him and talk to him. After some years, I had to start developing techniques because everybody started doing what I did, and then it didn't work anymore. So I had to come up with different techniques to, you know, if I needed to talk to Habib, you know what I mean, without having to speak to the secretary and set up appointments. You know what I mean?
Subhanallah.
So, you know, it got big. After it got big, it was just kind of hard, you know.
And then you
You
ended
know,
up.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't take me as a person that watches a lot of television. But if you happen to catch a commercial or two, there's a Progressive commercial, right, for car insurance, where this guy is standing out at this view, looking at this lake, right? And it's a beautiful view, trees, nature, and he's like, this is so wonderful. I'm so glad I had this moment right now. And the lady from Progressive says, why do you say that? He says, because when everybody finds out, it's going to be over. And no sooner as he says that, this lady pushes him up in the back. Says, come on, are you done yet? And he turns around and sees this long line of people.
Yeah.
And then she turns around with her social media phone on. Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
You know, I found a place I just found. I'm out here practicing gratitude and expressing abundance. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Subhanallah. Subhanallah.
that's how it was. That's how it was. That's how Damascus was. That's how Tarim became.
Subhanallah. So tell us about, like, in that little Dota where there was constant and regular interaction with the Habaib, that inspired you to move there permanently?
Let me tell you something. When we went swimming. We were in a lake, and no, a river. I'm sorry, and we were swimming, and I was swimming with all the students, and for some reason, like the students started playing duffs, and they were going playing the music and singing, you know, qasidas, and I was like, what's going on here? What's this all about? And I started swimming over to see what was going on, and somebody almost smacked me in my face doing the backstroke. I was like, you know, who is this? You know what I mean? And I kind of watched that person to see who it was when they got out the water, and it was Habib Omar.
Subhanallah.
And I was like,
Subhanallah.
first of all, what's the Shaykh doing in the water with the students? You know what I mean? That was the first thing.
Subhanallah.
That was the first lesson, right? Then I was like, wow, this is a man of the people. I mean, I came to that conclusion later, but I was just shocked because in Damascus, you wouldn't see that, right? Then I was like, We were getting dressed, and he walked up on me. Turban on, all white. Wallahi, akhi, I could not look at him. No exaggeration, I felt I was in the presence of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Subhanallah.
It was at that moment I knew he's what I want to be like. This is where I want to be.
Subhanallah.
And this was day 3.
Subhanallah.
I hadn't even been to Tarim and done the studies yet. You know, I was in a room full of all of the Habaib, all the scholars. And I'm like, it's just unreal. It was unreal. And then to go into Dar Mustafa, go into Tarim, go into Hadra, go into the studies. You know, like I didn't want to study Aqidah. I didn't want to hear stuff about Sunnah because where I come from, because I moved from Chicago. And in the masjids there, the Salafi movement with some of those brothers is so aggressive. I've seen brothers get beat up because they didn't have the same Aqidah. I've seen brothers get beat up over the word sunnah. I've seen people get knocked out. You know what I mean? So I was like, miss me with all of this stuff. So when I got to Tarim and started, I remember we were studying Aqidah because I had no choice. But the things he started talking about were things I was actually really interested in. And I remember I got so overwhelmed, I screamed out in English, "This is the class!
Subhanallah.
Yeah!" You know, and everybody looked at me. I was like, Afwan, samahni, you know what I mean? Afwan, you
Subhanallah.
know what I mean? I was just overwhelmed, you know what I mean? And then I watched Habib Omar and the things that he did, and he was doing other aspects of the Sunnah, and he just made it look beautiful. I watched him make wudu in a well. I have never in my life to this day seen wudu look beautiful. You
Subhanallah.
understand?
Subhanallah.
So I was like, yeah, you know what? And I'm not, folks, I'm not just making this stuff up. I'm not trying to be over intense to try and bolster my sheikh and all this other stuff. No, 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 no. We're on the show talking about the facts, right? So I'm only giving you facts. I'm not, no chaser here, no dilutions. This is raw. This is real, 100. I don't believe in being phony. I like to be transparent. And I'm transparently telling you, for me, Jamaludeen, that was the place for me,
Subhanallah.
based on the things that I saw. So, yeah, I wanted to learn more about the Sunnah. I wanted to learn more about Tawheed and Aqidah and these things because of what I witnessed in Tarim, and I didn't want to go back. In fact, when the Dawah was over, I was crying to Habib,
Subhanallah.
telling him I didn't even want to go back to Damascus. Wasn't even that I was going back to America. I didn't want to go back to Damascus.
Subhanallah.
You know what I mean? And he was like, he just simply said, stay.
Subhanallah.
I was like, not that easy, Habib. You know what I mean? I had a wife who doesn't know anything about this place. You know what I mean? I got stuff I got to get, I got to bring back. I got to bring down. I got to pack up. Got to do all these different things. But I knew that after that I was going. And when I told my wife at that time about what I wanted to do, she was on board.
Subhanallah.
There wasn't a fight, wasn't fuss, but a lot of people tried to make it difficult. Some people did try to prevent us from leaving. But Allah plans, and He's the best of planners. So
you then are somebody who did not go through many phases after you became Muslim.
I wouldn't say that. No, I did, bro. I mean, for a long time, I was just a Muslim by name. Brother, I was still in the club. I was still hanging out. I just wouldn't drink, right? I stopped eating pork, right? I wasn't even concerned about halal or dhabiha. If it just wasn't pork and no alcohol, that was it. You know what I mean? I still had girlfriends. I still was doing, I was still just living regular life with a few adjustments. And that's why I left Chicago, because my first name is Stephen. So Stephen had to become Jamal. And Stephen could not become Jamal until Jamal left Stephen, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so that's when I moved to Atlanta. And then, fresh start. Nobody knows me. I don't know anybody. I don't know where to go. I don't know where the happenings are. I don't know anything. So for me,
So
Jamal
that was
can become Jamal.
an intentional hijrah for the sake of your deen then. In other words, leaving a place where everything's familiar and all the bad habits are set there to a place that's completely foreign for you. Not really foreign, but as you said, you don't know where the happening places are, etc.
Right. I mean, my goal was to go to law school, right? I wanted to be a lawyer, and I wanted to attend what we call an HBCU. For those who don't know what that is, it's a historically black, which means that it's not your traditional school. It's not like the University of Illinois. It's not Harvard. It's definitely not a Southern Illinois University where I went to college. It's basically a traditional school, which is like during the time where black people cannot go to predominantly white institutions, which we term as PWI. Black people had to formulate their own institutions of higher learning. And so that is a historically black college. Now,
and the
can
U
white
is
people go
college
there?
/ university, sorry?
Say again, please?
The U is / university?
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Right? College or university. Yes.
All right.
So I had never been to one. Now, I mean, white students go. There are a lot of Arab students, a lot of Pakistani students. You will find even here in Atlanta, because in Atlanta we have four uh, HBCUs: Morehouse, Spelman, Clark Atlanta University, and Morris Brown University. And out of all four of those schools, and they're all right next to each other, you do have a diverse group of people, but it's predominantly Black American. So I came here because I wanted to go to a HBCU because I went to a predominantly white institution. I wanted to go to a predominantly Black one to have that experience, and then go to back to a PWI for a law school. So that was the plan. And I chose to come to Atlanta because I had one friend here that I grew up with, from childhood, and that was it. And then I could go to one of these schools and then go to law school, yada, yada, yada. But what I didn't count on was coming here, meeting a brother at the masjid that was teaching from Reliance of the Traveler, getting in that class because I wanted to learn more about Islam, and then from there, ending up in the Middle East.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah.
Pretty much how it worked out, man,
Subhanallah. Ajib. Now you go to Tarim. Now you moved there and you stayed for a long number of years. Did you stay for the whole program? Did you stay afterwards?
No, actually, interesting enough, Sheikh Ibrahim had set up something for me in 2002 to go to England because one particular masjid needed, their imam was traveling and they didn't have an imam. So I got sent there to Crawley, England, and I lived there for a while as the resident imam for a while. Then one of the imams came back, then I became number 2.
Okay.
And then after that, I went back to Tarim, and my wife at the time needed to come back to the United States because we were having our third child. And I was like, I'm tired of going back and forth. I'm traveling too much, breaking up my studies. I said, if we ever have to go back to the United States again, we're not coming back.
Yeah.
She went back, and then her family demanded me to come back. I was saying, I'm not coming back. I'm staying. And I went to Habib Omar about it. He looked at me and said, you're going to go into our 6-month intensive program, and then you're going home.
Okay.
I was like, well, Habib, I don't want to do that. I'm looking for Habib to put the word down so I can say, well, Habib said, I don't have to leave. You know what I mean? That's what people would like to do, right?
Yeah.
Blame it on the Sheikh. But I dragged my feet for about 2 months, and then he asked me, are you in that program? I said, no. Get in the program.
Subhanallah.
That's all he said, with a very serious look on his face. Enough said. I got in the program, finished it, and then I went home. So I got as far as Yaqut al-Nafis, which is the text just before Umdat al-Salik, which is Reliance of the Traveler, and then the book after that is the Minhaj.
So that's a 6th book in Shafi'i fiqh then. 6 out of 8 books in Shafi'i fiqh.
That's correct. Yep.
Good. So you came back to Atlanta and you started doing Dawah here.
Yep, sure did.
All right.
Actually, I started my own madrasa. Started that, but I couldn't keep it going. I didn't have enough support, so it fell apart.
And that's which part of Atlanta are you in?
Right now?
Yeah.
I'm in an area called Glenwood Park, so I'm just south of downtown.
Okay. And
kind of southeast.
There's a lot of stuff going on. Tell us a bit about the scene there in Atlanta.
Well, I mean, this is the A, right? This is the ATL. This is the spot. This is the place to be, if you want to make it in rap, movies,
Subhanallah,
reality TV, whatever you want. Your desires can be fulfilled right here. You know what I mean? This place will turn you out if you're not careful.
Subhanallah.
But having said that, we have some strong communities here. Very strong, what we endearingly refer to as immigrant masjids. People coming from indigenous Islamic countries. And we also have some very strong indigenous masjids, meaning of Black American descent. And so, I'm not going to say there's always things happening here. It's always, that's kind of the complaint. People come in from other places, hey, what's happening? Where are the classes? Where's the motive? Where's this? And it's kind of not like that. You know what I mean? We do have some really nice molids thanks to a particular family, the Cole family. They've been very instrumental in really reviving our Molid gatherings and uh, our nasheed sessions and things of this nature. We also have the Shaykh Jamal here, and those brothers have been doing some wonderful things at the Rabat that they've established an Islamic school here called the Rabat. So they've been doing a lot of wonderful things as well in the community. We have the Atlanta Masjid, which is under the tutelage of Imam Warthi Muhammad. They're probably the largest black community or masjid in the city. And that's one of the masjids where you'll see a lot of people becoming Muslim as well. The West End Masjid under Imam Jamil al-Amin, free Imam Jamil. That community has also been striving and thriving, and they're growing, and it's getting better for them. So you see a lot of that. And we also have here the Medina Institute under Sheikh Muhammad al-Ninawi. So we're very happy to have, we're very blessed to have that here. And for me, I'm just happy because I get to go and float between everybody. So I've taught pretty much everywhere of the places that I've mentioned. And there are a lot of other masjids that I haven't mentioned. Mu'adh bin Jabal, which is our East African community, one of them. We have about 3 or 4 of them, but that's the one I kind of connect with the most. The Roswell Community Masjid, they're really wonderful. The North Fulton Masjid of North Atlanta, beautiful building, beautiful imam, beautiful brothers and sisters up there, all doing some really great work.
Tell us, the audience, about Imam Jamil al-Amin and how who is he? What was his dawah like, and what is his status right now?
So for those who don't know who Imam Jamil al-Amin is, he was known as H. Rap Brown. He was one of the Black Panthers. And he was incarcerated some years, got out of prison. Now, one of the things about him, when he became Muslim, he was a community leader. Even in the prisons, he was the one that negotiated a lot of problems that were going between different gangs and rival gangs, even skinheads and white supremacist groups and these people. He still was the man who would negotiate peace and these kind of things in the prison system. So when he got out, he helped to develop a massive community that stretches across the country. And but the thing is, the FBI, because of his Panther background, never liked him being set free. And the Islamic part just was a bite in their behind. So they really didn't like it. So they were finding ways to catch him. Unfortunately, I mean, there were a couple times they tried to set him up. There was one young man who got shot in the urban area not far from their masjid. The FBI tried to get that young man to say that it was Imam Jamil who did it. And that young man refused to do it in court. First he was going to, but when he got to court, he said, he didn't shoot me. It was all made up. FBI tried to make me say it. That same young man came to Imam Jamil's shop and accepted Islam.
Subhanallah. Ajib.
Crazy, wasn't it? But much after that, a police officer was shot, and they tried to pin that on Imam Jamil. He fled to Alabama, and the police came to that community, and there was a shootout. They wound up capturing him, putting him back into prison. A man came forth and said, look, confess to the crime, but the FBI and the government shut that down because we want Jamil in jail. We don't want him free. So all the evidence and everything else, all the truth, all the facts, we don't care about, we don't want. That's your American government, right? So they threw that out so they could keep Imam Jamil in prison. Now he's in solitary confinement and has been for well over almost a decade and a half.
Because he was arrested right after 9/11, right?
Yeah, not too long after that. Yeah.
Are you aware? Are you aware that they're making a Netflix documentary about him, or they're making HBO, or someone's making a documentary about him? Because
I didn't know.
People are realizing that the government pays attention when this thing catches the media. When things catch on to the media, then, for example, someone confessed to the killing, to doing the murder.
Right.
The reason they could shoo it away is because no one is aware of that. And if if you ask 9 out of 10 people who are aware of the Jamil al-Amin's name, they don't know that the circumstances around his arrest are completely fabricated.
Right.
If we take this man to be true, that this man is genuine, and why would somebody? This man has no relation to him, has no reason to take the hit for him.
Right.
Like there's no connection, and he's literally confessed to the crime. That's gonna cause the prosecutors to reopen the case, and by the way, they want to, because prosecutors change over time, and there's people who put him behind bars, they're long gone, and there is a new batch of people who want to rectify this.
That's right. That's correct.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, my condolences and my heart goes out to the police officer that lost his life. And we feel bad for the family, but I would think a family wants justice and truthful justice, not just somebody to say we got somebody.
Yeah.
But someone that actually did the crime. We want that person off the streets.
Yeah. Not just revenge anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. We don't want to just kill the first thing we see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We want to get the one who actually did it.
And what was his dawah like before he went into jail?
I like to consider him to be kind of and I hope I'm not saying this to be offensive, but he's a street dawah. He has street dawah. You know what I mean? He's a da'i, like he understands the people in the urban areas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he understands how to connect with the people that really hits them in the heart.
Yeah.
Right? Because all dawah, no matter what style, and as we know, there's all types of ways of giving dawah, all types of methodologies. But what we're really looking for is that dawah that just penetrates the heart. And he was one of those people that could talk to you in a way that makes it understandable, make it tangible, and make it plausible. For you to implement into your life, no matter where you came from.
Yeah.
And I think that, and he also offers you community. Because at that time he had a very strong community. So he offers you community, and I think that's something that a lot of people, especially in urban areas, really want and look for.
And did he have a masjid and a center?
Yes. At the West End Masjid. It was probably I don't know all the history, but I was told that was one of the first masjids in Atlanta.
Ajib. MashaAllah.
Yeah.
Well, you have amazing experience. Let's start benefiting from your knowledge here, and we'll open up a Q&A for you. How's that? We'll open up a Q&A,
okay.
And let's go with let's do a rapid fire Q&A with Shaykh Jamal. So start posting in your questions here. Let's start putting up your questions here. All right. Just give it a second before all the questions come in. All right, Somalia. Have you ever had any experiences with the Awliya of Somalia?
Allahu Akbar. Once.
Tell us about that.
I've been around a lot of Somalians. Here in Atlanta, we have a very strong Somalian community.
Yeah.
And one of the masjids, the Clarkston Masjid, it's also our other East African masjid. There are a few, they used to have a mullet. And there are a few brothers who, mashallah, let me put it like this. Only a wali knows a wali. I'm not a wali.
Subhanallah.
So I can't tell you if that person of the awliya, but I can tell you that there's something that was different about this brother. And he was one of those people that if he made dua for you, it was going to get answered.
Subhanallah.
He was just one of those people. And I haven't seen him in years. But
Subhanallah.
And I don't remember his name. I never knew his name, to be honest with you. I think I was told and forgot.
Subhanallah.
But I knew him when I saw him.
Some people make dua to be unknown amongst the people. And that's why you always forget their names.
And that could be it. Yeah. You know what I mean? That could literally be it. But yeah. I want to say there was one brother came to Tarim once. But I never got to spend time with him. So I can't really speak upon him.
All right, here's the next question. Maghrib comes in late. Isha comes in very late. I can never, this person is basically saying that they need to sleep. Can they sleep after Maghrib, set their alarm, and pray Isha afterwards? Because some time zones, Isha comes in very late, and they end up being groggy all day the next day.
Yeah, absolutely you can.
Okay. All right, that's the answer for Lexus KMM. All right, can you explain terms that you said? Hadra, what is it? Is it acceptable? Are there different types? What are the rulings on that in Islam? This is a question. This is a question from Habiba.
Habiba, it's not the Hadra.
Yeah, Hadra.
Okay. What was the first part of the question?
So what is Hadra? Are there different types? Is it whirling dervishes? Is this acceptable in Islam?
Okay. So the first thing, Hadra means hudur, to have presence. Right? To have presence with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us to have hudur in our salah. Right? Have presence, because we're engaging in the conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In many tariqas, spiritual paths, the Hadra is one of motion. And in other tariqas, the Hadra is one of stillness. Okay? And some movement comes from bouncing and breath. And I'm just saying Allah, just saying the Ism al-Azim, right? Some haq, 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 right? They're saying al-haq. There are some where you see them stomping side to side.
Like the Chechens.
Right, and you see them going in circles, right? As they're doing there, but they're stomping and they're all in unison going around, right? And others, and all of them, they're doing dhikr, and in some of them, they're doing dhikr, and they're also doing qasa'id, singing qasa'id at the same time. The ones of stillness usually is dhikr and qasa'id, or maybe just qasa'id. Now, in terms of permissibility in Islam, right? It all depends on who you talk to.
So ikhtilaf.
Ikhtilaf. It depends on who you talk to. Because some will say this is haram. Oh, Allah doesn't want you doing that, but Allah didn't say you couldn't do it. There's nothing that says that the movement is haram. If you're cutting yourself, slapping yourself, causing harm, yeah, I would. Me personally, I would stay away from that. I don't see the fa'idah. I don't see where the benefit comes in any shape, fashion, or form as far as that's concerned. The breath and the moving, I can kind of understand that from a point of view of deep breathing. When you kind of study some other little things like Kundalini yoga, things like this, not that you're in it, but you kind of understand its principles, you see where it has a place.
You mean a benefit? A benefit.
Exactly. So I'm not going to say, so let me give you the short answer. I don't know its permissibility in Islam. What I do know is that I have yet to come across anything that says it is haram. But I have not concerned myself with it enough to have to go and look for the answer. Right? Let me just be honest with you. For my path, the path that I'm on, we do not do hadra with motion. Our hadra is stillness and contemplation. So we sit, we listen to adhkar, we sit and we listen to the qasa'id. That's it. That's the hadra, endana.
Okay.
Right? So for other groups, they do what they do. I don't say yes, I don't say no. I've been in hadras in Damascus. I've been in hadras. I've been in group hadras, like with different turuq come all together in one masjid to do a massive hadra. I've seen it with the Rafa'is, the Shadalis, the Nashabandis, and all these other groups all coming to one masjid. And I've seen big, big, big scholars of fiqh who are not even associated with any of these tariqas in the same room, and not one person stood up and walked out the room. Not one person got up and started screaming haram. So to me, I'm like, if these big scholars are here and they're serious people and they're not saying anything against it, then I feel like, okay, well, then Sharia-wise, there's some permissibility to this. After that, it's a preference thing.
Good.
Allahu alam.
Thank you for the answer. Thank you. Here's another question. Do you think it's still beneficial for young people now to go overseas the way you did in the 90s? You know, a lot has changed.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
No, I missed that anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Absolutely. And the reason being is because you have to be able to experience culture that's different than your own. Right? You have to do this. You have to be able to. It's like, for instance, had I not lived in England and been around the Pakistani community and Indian community as much as I was, there's no way I could benefit them when they come to ask certain questions.
Correct. Yeah.
Because I know nothing about your culture.
Yep.
If an Arab person, specifically from Yemen or Syria, asked me a question, I couldn't answer it properly because, again, we have to understand there are cultural aspects to life that take place and take part in the way we do things, even our fiqh. So therefore, if you're asking me a question and I'm not familiar with where you come from, then I can't really give you a solid answer.
Yep.
Or an answer that's really beneficial, because I'm just giving you a root textbook answer, and sometimes that's not sufficient.
Yep. And sometimes the question has an obvious answer, but the questioner is intending to get you on his side in a feud. Right?
And I hate that.
That's like you step on a mine, essentially.
Right. That's right. And you know, and one of the things about that too is that people, as a person, when you do go study, you have to be careful. And doctor, I know you felt this, you've dealt with this as well. People like to formulate questions to get a certain response.
Yeah. Yep.
They're not going to give it to you in its totality. Right. They're not going to give it to you with complete context. They're going to give it to you in a way so that the answer can only, as you just said earlier, be on their side.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's bogus.
I have a lot of experience with stepping on mines, unfortunately.
Well, alhamdulillah, you're still here with us. So Allahu Akbar.
Alhamdulillah. In Shafi'i fiqh, can you make dua in English in sujud if you don't know Arabic?
Yes.
Okay. The answer is yes there. Same answer for Big Baller Brandon. Same answer in the Maliki school. If you do not know how to express yourself in Arabic, you can say it in English or any language, really. Okay.
Big Baller.
Okay. You have a question, Ugo?
Yeah.
Speak.
You only went to the Dominican Republic?
Did you go to any other Caribbean countries for Dawah?
I've been to Chiapas, Mexico, which is not the Caribbean, but I've been to Chiapas, Mexico, and I've also been to St. Lucia.
So
and Trinidad.
So for people, did you do for eschatology talks there or what?
When I was in Trinidad, I was doing the Molid.
MashaAllah. Good.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I went to, it was during the Molid season, so we had a lot of talks going on and a lot of defending of the Molids.
SubhanAllah. Okay, here's what were we just talking about? What did you just ask? Okay, the Caribbean essentially for the British who may not know, or people in America who don't. So it's a set of islands from the tip of Florida. Set of islands go all the way down to the northeastern tip of South America.
Correct.
And so these set of islands that go like this, they block the Atlantic Ocean. Hence, the Caribbean is more still than the ocean. And because it's more still, because these islands are blocking the waves, the dust and the dirt and the sand settle to the bottom. As a result of that, the Caribbean Sea, or the Caribbean Sea, depending on who you talk to, it's like blue, it's aqua. Okay. Yeah. And the beauty of the Caribbean is the for that ring of islands, the inside. The outside facing the Atlantic is still the Atlantic. It's not so clean. It's the inside. Dominican Republic is like the first island setting the block, if anyone knows football terminology, right? That is blocking so that the Dominican Republic is the first, and it's one of the biggest. And its neighbor is Haiti.
I would say Cuba. Cuba's probably the biggest.
Oh, Cuba. Yeah, Cuba's bigger. Hey, Omar, can you get us a map of the Caribbean? Because I'm telling you, this part of the part of the world, you can argue, is one of the prettiest parts of the entire world. The Caribbean. Get us a nice map, not a Google map. Yeah, like a nice. Oh, there you go. That's a beautiful. Go back. Yeah, that's pretty right there. Now zoom in on that on the right there, and you'll see from Florida down to northwest of Guyana. That area right there is blocked by a whole bunch of islands. Right? Puerto Rico setting a big block. Cuba setting a humongous block. That causes the waves of the Atlantic to be decreased. Now increase. Zoom in there on the right there. يعمل zoom. There, zoom in. There you go. You see all these islands? They're all, Cuba's huge. Look at that. See that? All those islands there?
Jamaica should be the second.
Yeah, there you go. So Montserrat, which is a fontanelle. Dominica, St. Lucia. Come over to the right so we could see all the names there. Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago. You see all that? There's the DR right above Puerto Rico.
Right, okay. And then Haiti right next to it, and the Turks. I don't know how it's pronounced, Circos or Carcos. Yeah. I don't know how you pronounce it, but
and you
a lot
see
of beautiful places there.
Aruba probably has the prettiest water in the world. That's why it made the song. And there's also, you see that mountain range? There's a mountain range in the sea. Look at that. There's a mountain range in the ocean that's blocking all those waves.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, the Muslims had taken over Trinidad at one point.
Subhanallah, Ajib. How?
Yeah, they took it over by force.
Ajib. But you're talking way back in the day.
Yeah, long time ago. But one of the beautiful things about Trinidad, and that was one of the places I actually literally wanted to throw away my passport.
Wow.
I mean, lose it on purpose. The Muslims are very, 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 very well integrated into society. I mean, it was one of them places, like I was walking around with a turban on and thobe and all this. No one was looking at me like, oh my God, who is he? Oh my God, what's going on there? It was natural. They had a halal McDonald's.
And are you talking about like Daisies who went there? Or Daisies, indigenous?
You have a mixture. Right? Because all of these islands had enslaved Africans.
Yeah.
So the indigenous people, if you will, are the Tanils or Tanils. I think they're called Tanil Indians.
Yeah.
And then black African people.
Yeah.
So you have the Indians and the Africans who come together, and then whoever was the colonizer kind of mixed in there. And then, but in Trinidad, that's where you started getting a lot of the Daisy communities coming in. That's why you have what's called West Indies, and West Indian people. That's these people. And so there's a point where there's almost a point where you almost can look at the spectrum and you don't know who's what.
So it's all mixed up. Like Guyana's like that too, right? A lot of
I've never been to Guyana,
okay.
But I've heard now, a lot of intermarrying.
Let me tell people something. Omar, pull up the map real quick again. I want to tell you guys not to be duped by Punta Cana. I'll tell you why. Punta Cana, they tell you it's in a Caribbean island, which is true, Dominican Republic. But what side of the island is Punta Cana? Punta Cana is on the Atlantic-facing side of the island. So the water is not like the picturesque water of Aruba. Even the Google thing has got a pool, not the actual ocean. The actual ocean is now highly polluted with seaweed. It's like a natural phenomenon. No one knows why it happened. By the way, I love the islands. It's a gorgeous island. The I loved everything about it. But the water, don't be fooled by the water, because it's now on the Atlantic side. So any of you want to go to a Caribbean island, prices are nice, seafood is amazing, water's amazing, all that stuff. Make sure you're going on the beaches that are on the inside of that crescent
Puerto
area.
Plata. That's a nice spot.
Yeah, that's a beautiful spot. So the inside. Zoom out again, Omar. Okay, keep zooming out. All right, keep going. Keep zooming out. A little bit more. Okay, see all those islands? The west side of the islands, St. Lucia, Dominicana, Barbados, Grenada, the west side. Stay on the west side. That's where, and all of the northern South America, all of northern South America is good, beautiful. Keep going east, going west, and then all the west side of Central America. Central America, Costa Rica, the west, the east side. Sorry, the east side of Central America. Gorgeous areas, beautiful areas. Okay, so that's good enough for in terms of geography lesson there. We take geography lessons every once in a while whenever it comes up, because it's always fun to look at that stuff. Sheikh, we kept you for a long time. Tell us, here's a question from Bidochi 1822. How do we enjoy these public beaches as Muslims, given that there will be nudity there?
Go early.
There you go. Take the early part of the day.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are parts of the beaches that are empty. If you drive along the coast.
Here's the thing. There are going to be parts where they're a little bit more private. You know what I mean? And you can also look up private beaches, right? If you want to go to these places, look up private beaches. And like I said, the earlier when you were in Santo Domingo, I don't know if they ever took you to the beach called Boca Chica.
Yeah.
And Boca Chica is a nice place. Now that water is blue. And I used to go there a lot myself. And the key is, though, you have to go early. You have to be there like around 10 in the morning. Because people are going to the beach for what? The sunshine. Yep. Here's the thing. People aren't going to the beach to be in the ocean. They're going to the beach to be out on the beach. Yep. To walk around, sunbathe, do all these kind of things, right? There are a few people that go out and go snorkeling. Some people will go scuba diving. But those people are on other places. So the thing is, if you come out around 10 a.m., I almost want to say 11, and only plan to be there until about noon, go home. Go back to your room or whatever. Because like if your wife is one, or you're a sister that's going, and you're one that does believe in modesty and covering up properly, it's going to be too hot to be out there in the middle of the day anyway. So the earlier part is better, and then maybe the latter part of the evening. You know what I mean? Because then it gets a little cooler, the sun's not beating. A lot of people, I mean, you might still see a few things, but some people move. In St. Lucia, you can actually take a little boat ride to a little small private little beach. I've done that. So you can go take a little boat, little motorboat, and get you around the mountains, and then boom, you're in a little spot, little piece of land, or a little piece of beach all by yourself. You can also do that in the DR. It may cost you a little bit, but you can ask. Look, aren't there little small beaches or little places we can do some private stuff, and the guy will come and drop you and whomever off, and they'll come back and get you, right? It's a service you pay for, so it's not like they have to come back and get you. So you can't go to, private spots. Yeah. So that's what I would look. If you want to enjoy this, look up private beaches, private spots. If you can't find any, just go early in the morning or maybe later in the evening.
Beautiful, beautiful. Question from Ryan. Tafaddal. Turn Ryan's mic on real quick.
Sheikh, thank you for sharing all your stories. I want to ask a very general question. What would you say is the point of seeking knowledge?
To become closer to Allah. That's it. If there's no reason for anything else, I question you. And let me say this. Let me say it like this. Why do I say it like this? Because you can say, no, but what about my community? Let me tell you something that happens with this. How much time do we have? Do I have some time to
go ahead?
Just go into stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bismillah.
So I'm gonna put it like this. There's a story. Our beloved brother, may Allah be pleased with him, Osama Cannon, told me this one time. He said there were two scholars, a Shaykh of Tasawwuf and a Shaykh of Fiqh. The Shaykh of Fiqh they were in this gathering. The Shaykh of Fiqh was going on talking about the knowledge and all this and how fiqh was the superior knowledge, yada yada yada. So then the Shaykh of Tasawwuf said, but you know, our beginnings are better than your ends. And the Shaykh of Tasawwuf, the Shaykh of Fiqh was like, wait, what? What are you talking about? How could this? And he just starts going on. So the Shaykh of Tasawwuf says, look, tomorrow come to my Zawiyah and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Next day comes, right? The Shaykh of Tasawwuf is sitting in the Zawiyah and he says, he has a whole bunch of students in there. He says, listen up everyone. He says, today we're going to have this great faqih who's going to come in and share with us and dine with us. But when he gets here, I want no one, I mean absolutely no one, to give salams. Do you want to make myself clear? If you give salams, you're out of here. Yes, Sheikh. So when the Shaykh of Fiqh shows up, right? He comes in, Assalamu alaikum. No one said a word. Assalamu alaikum. No one said a word. Astaghfirullah. You know, and he starts going through all the ahkam and all these different reasons why you're supposed to return the Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and all this. So the Shaykh of Tasawwuf comes in. He's like, oh, Shaykh, you're here. MashaAllah. Please come have a seat next to me. He says, what is it? What are you teaching these people here? And he's going off, right? So he says, no, mahlan, you know, they just calm down. Come on over here and have a seat. So they're sitting down, they're having tea, and the Shaykh he's still flustered. The Shaykh of Tasawwuf turns around and he says, students, listen up. He says, today we have a new student coming to our Zawiyah. And I want no one to return his salams. He's been doing a few little classes with us, but today he's going to be part of the Zawiyah. No one gives him salams. Do I make myself clear? Yes, Shaykh. So, you know, the Shaykh of Tasawwuf was talking to the faqih and they're having a good conversation, whatever. The student walks in. He's all happy, full of glee. He says, Assalamu alaikum. No one said a word. He was, Assalamu alaikum. Nobody said a word. Please forgive me if I've said anything wrong.
Subhanallah.
If I've done anything wrong, if I've fouled anyone, if I've done something ill to anybody, please forgive me. Please, whatever I may have done, please, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And the Shaykh of Tasawwuf looks at the faqih and he says, again, our beginnings are better than your ends.
Subhanallah.
You understand what I'm saying to you, brother? Whoever asked the question. The thing is, when you say you're coming to teach for your community, what you're doing is you're opening up yourself to be bolstered. Let me rephrase. You're setting up the stage for your ego to become bigger than it needs to be.
Subhanallah.
You understand?
Subhanallah.
So when you come back, some brothers, and I'll be very honest, some brothers come home and they expect to be treated a certain kind of way. I hate being called Sheikh. It wasn't until recently I heard Sheikh Muhammad al-Ninawi. He said, I call people Sheikh out of respect. He said, anybody who has received some form of Islamic teaching, I refer to them as Sheikh, but not Sheikh as in an alim. Because the majority of you are not alims. You are not of the ulama. And I thought about that for a second, and I said, okay, I can accept that. Because I don't like being called Sheikh, because I'm not a Sheikh. I haven't spent 20 years of my life in studies. You know what I'm saying? I sometimes, one of my Algerian teachers, he says, what is an ilm? Ilm is when someone asks you a question, and you're flipping through the pages of the book in your mind to find the masala, to find the answer to the situation that's been given you, right? Not someone who says, hold on, let me get back to you. I'm going to check my books. And he's got this massive library. Let me go check my books, bro. I'll be back. That's not an alim.
Subhanallah.
Right? Subhanallah. He told me that an alim is not a person who takes a lot of books and has studied. He takes one book and he's read it over 500 times.
Subhanallah.
He said that is an alim.
Subhanallah.
So my thing is that when we're looking at people who like to profess that they're people of knowledge, a lot of things just get opened up, brother, that are dangerous.
Mm.
So your goal has to be Allah and only Allah in your acquisition of seeking knowledge. Whether you go across seas, whether you're sitting with Dr. Shadee, and whether you're sitting with me, whether you're sitting with Sheikh Abdul Karim Yahya, Sheikh Yahya Rodis, whomever, whomever Allah puts you in front of, right? No matter who that person is, your intention has to be for the pleasure of Allah, to become closer to Allah, to understand. Because another thing, we have to become people. Habib Ali al-Jafri said this. We have to become people of haqiqah, right? Of reality, of experience, not people of surah, the people who look the part. I've got a few beautiful words and I've learned a few things. I read a couple of hadith, but nothing has been eternalized. You understand, brother? I mean, I can go on and on with this. I think you kind of got it at this point, but it has to be eternalized. So when we speak, we're not speaking because we read something and we're regurgitating knowledge. We're speaking from the point of view of experience. And I, even myself, I'm still, after all these years of being removed from Tarim, because I left Tarim in 2003. Now that doesn't mean you've arrived. The student really becomes a student when they start teaching.
Subhanallah.
Because that's when you really start learning. Because now you're gonna get hit with things you weren't taught in class, or you weren't expecting, or maybe that day you didn't show up, or you didn't pay attention, or whatever the case may be. Now you gotta go and find some answers. You know what I'm saying? Now can you say I don't know? Or are you gonna be one of those people who are gonna try and answer anyways, and then find out you were wrong and have to come back? Oh, brother, I'm sorry. Last time I told you this last week. You know what I mean? Which happens. It happens. Alhamdulillah. But my thing is that I want, for all those who are thinking about studying, who are actively studying, you got to watch your egos. You got to stay sincere. And this has to be for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Really, it has to be about the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and your personal development with Allah. And if Allah chooses you to be one who disseminates this knowledge, then Allahu Akbar. But there are a lot of people who have gone to Tarim and you don't know anything about them.
Subhanallah.
You know what I mean? And it's not about, oh, like our beloved doctor here has said, that they may dua not to be seen. No. I can tell you right now, that ain't the case.
Subhanallah.
I can tell you right now, a lot of these brothers, they got what they came there for, and they left.
Subhanallah.
But yeah, I wouldn't. No.
Ajib.
I'm just being honest.
Mm.
You know, some people come to Dawah Mustafa just so they can say, I was with the Habayib. There was one brother in particular telling everybody, I was Habib's top student. You've been there accumulatively 6 months, if that. Accumulatively, if that. What? How did you become a top student? You know, and what's funny to us is that the Habayib all tell us, the ones who sit in the front row are the sickest ones.
Subhanallah.
They're the ones who have they're the sickest ones. It's the ones that are far away that are the closest to us.
Subhanallah.
And they all say this. And it's not trying to be, to say something nice about the people sitting far away. This is a reality.
Subhanallah.
When before we used to see when in our gatherings at Dawah Mustafa, when the Mawlid comes, where was Habib Ali al-Jafri sitting? He wasn't in the front row. He wasn't up there against the wall with the rest of the Habayib. This man was out in the hallway sometimes, sitting down. Or he'd be in the very back with his head down, basically in a sense trying to hide. Habib called them the same thing. It wasn't until Habib Omar told them they had to sit in the front that they started sitting in the front.
Subhanallah.
They had to be commanded to do that. Most of the Habayib, especially the younger ones, nobody was looking to get up on the mic. Nobody was, I'm going to say this today. Ooh, I can't wait to share this with everybody. I just read it. I'm going to drop this bomb. Oh, it's going to be deep. You know what I mean? No. And that's what I learned, right? The way of the Ba'alawi is that you learn. It's ilm wal amal wa da'wah, knowledge, ilm wal amal, works. So you can't just learn and not do. You have to do what you learn. In other words, you become what you learn. You become the experience, right? With da'wah. Then there's the da'wah part. And da'wah is given, like we said, many, many different ways. Many of our scholars of the old used to literally sit in the back at different gatherings and not say a word until they heard something wrong. Then they will say something. And they said when they did speak, everyone in the room knew who the real faqih was. I'm not looking to do that, but I do sit in the back and I'm quiet. I'm not always, when I come in gatherings, I'm not trying to sit up in the front. I'm trying to be in the back.
SubhanAllah.
That's what I've learned. And I understand it. Don't want to be in the front. I don't like being the imam of a salat. Too much pressure. It just is. I'm sorry, it is.
It's safer.
Thank you.
Solitude is safer.
Thank you.
SubhanAllah.
So I give you a long answer, Akhi, because I really holistically want you and everyone else listening to understand that this is not about becoming famous or popular. Not saying that that was your intention or that was part of your question or what you were thinking, but it's what can happen. It's what can happen to a lot of people.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah.
And Allah knows best.
That's a beautiful answer, and that's a beautiful point to close on, because that story was very powerful between the faqih and the beginner, and the humility that's given as a foundation of those people who start and come in with the intent of self-purification and spirituality. If they're malleable to be taught about humility, that you're not really that big of a deal. And better for it to be taught by a sheikh and accepted as a murid than to be enacted by Allah Ta'ala, and Allah makes you humble because of an incident that occurs, right? And that's you know, it's always better be taught something and be humble yourself rather than having to be forced by humiliation and embarrassment.
Absolutely. So, you know, and saying that real quick, if you allow me just a few more minutes before you close out, I know you got to go. You know, when I went to do da'wah in the Dominican Republic, right? You know, and I have to admit, because of what a lot of what I'm telling you right now is because I was that guy. I wasn't part of that problem. You know, and going to the DR thinking that I myself could, you know, really teach people something. Because I didn't go with the organization. Nobody was supporting me. I just went. And my idea was I'm going to be like the old Habayib. You know what I mean? They were going, the ones who went to Indonesia and to India and to Africa and Malaysia, you know, because the people of Hadra are responsible for Islam coming to these places. And, or let me say East Africa, not Africa as whole, but like East African part, like, there are a lot of Habayib that are responsible for a lot of conversions in those areas. But India, not to say India, but Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, the Habayib, the people of Hadramaut are responsible for the dawah in that country, for causing those countries to become Muslim countries. And so I thought myself, you know what, I'm going to be that guy. And so when I'm there, you know, it's kind of like it's like a relationship you try to force. You try to force someone to love you. You can't force someone to love you. You can't force a relationship. Like, we're going to be in a relationship. That's it. You're going to love me. You know what I mean? You can't do that. It doesn't work. Everybody has to be in. And when you force yourself into something, you ruin things for not only just yourself, but for everybody else. And I think that I forced myself upon people. You know, I came there with the best of intentions. You know, a man said to me, I asked a guy one time, I said, concerned, before I left, I said, I'm worried about the success that I may have. And they said to me, your success depends on, did Allah send Salih or did Salih send Salih? And I had to think about it. I didn't really understand it at first. At the end, when it was all over, I realized, yeah, Salih sent Salih. In other words, I sent myself. You know what I mean? I set it up so that I could go. I made it possible for myself to go. But the tawfiq wasn't really there because I forced it. Because there was a lot of things. I made a lot of mistakes. You know, there was some good, don't get me wrong, because a lot of people became Muslim while I was there. Alhamdulillah. But there were a lot of things that didn't happen because I forced it. You see what I'm saying? And I'm only sharing this with you because I want you all to understand the importance of sincerity in everything that you do. And making sure that, you know, when it stops being about Allah and about you, Allah, as they say, Allah walks out the door. You know what I mean? Like there was a guy who said it to a man, he was like, you know, he was making music. And he said, as long as you're doing this from your heart, you're good. But the minute this becomes money, that's when God walks out. You know what I mean? And it wasn't that I was doing it for money, because there was no money to be made. But I wanted to do something and create something because everybody else around me was doing it too. And I felt like I needed to be creating and doing something. So this was bigger than what they were doing in my mind. And so I went there, and again, it just blew up in my face because of that intention, because of that true intention. So the thing was, and two, I think if I had like permanently lived there, then maybe life would have been different, because eventually I would have had to simmer down, ease up, and then, you know, regroup and then get back to work and get back to work the way it needs to be done. Because Dawah, when you go to a city, a place, Dawah doesn't happen in 2 years, 3 years. That's a lifetime commitment.
Yeah.
It really is. So, alhamdulillah. So I say this to all of you because I want you, for those who want to do Dawah, do it with your heart. For those who are studying, do it from your heart. As we say, words that come from the heart go to the heart. Words that come from the mouth fall upon deaf ears. We want to go to the souls. So may Allah bless all of you to be of those people who are completely sincere, and the words that you speak come from your heart and go to the heart. And if all you do is all learn for yourself and you just teach us, you've learned something to improve your relationship with Allah and maybe your families, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Mission complete.
MashaAllah, that was a really touching story, and I think really an important, one of the most important lessons a person is going to have. As Imam al-Ghazali said, Ayyuha al-Walad is just all about the intention, the whole book.
Yep.
And one of the, I remember reading about once, one of the awliya's very well-known story. He said that he's been worshiping Allah 33 years, working just on the intention. SubhanAllah. Everything else, easy. You learn it and you practice it. It's easy, but the intention can take 40 years to learn. Yeah. SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah. So, inshallah, that anytime anyone's headed to Atlanta, how can they find you?
Facebook.
Okay. Give you a Facebook message.
Facebook. Yep, send me a Facebook message me there. And inshallah, we'll be happy to receive you.
MashaAllah, wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on. Jazakallah khair. Really appreciate it and hope it's not the last time.
I'm at your service. Whenever you need me, just reach out.
Thank you so much. Barakallahu feek.
Wa yakum.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So there you have it. You have now somebody is just going to give it to you as it is. And it's not going to be covered up in a turban. And it's not going to be given any sauce. And it's not going to be given a lot of terminology. But I'm telling you, like if I had a pupil, you'd be mandatory to go spend some time with Shaykh Jamal. Because he is going to teach you what ikhlas is. And you're going to go there and there's going to be no icing on the cake. You're going to learn what ikhlas is, whether you like it or not. Not by theories, just the way he lives. Like he's, as he said earlier on, he says, I don't like phonies. I'm not a phony. And what you see is what you get. That's how it's going to be. You're going to learn ikhlas in practice. That's my perspective on it. From hearing his story, seeing how he talks about it and everything. And it's so important, ikhlas. Solitude, I think, is so important. You got to have solitude. And in that solitude, you sort of have to pretend that this is it. This is going to be life forever. I don't have anything. Nothing that I enjoy. None of the people that I enjoy. Nothing. This is it. I'm all alone now. And imagine yourself, you've been plucked from here and flicked onto a planet all by yourself. All right, live the rest of your life here. We'll bring you food and drink. Okay, and live your life on this planet. You get sick, we'll send you a nurse, but live your rest of your life on this planet all by yourself. You're going to have ikhlas, right? That's going to develop. And then you have to ping pong back and forth. That's the key. Because if you're always in solitude, you don't know the diseases of the heart that you have until you mingle with people. Then you realize, oh my gosh, I have a temper problem. I have an envy problem. You don't know if you have envy or not until someone slightly younger than you does better than you, or an equal to you does better than you. You don't know that you have envy until then. You don't know if you have arrogance until you see yourself more successful than someone older than you. That's why you need to be at those who are older than you, equal to you, and younger than you. You don't know if you have desire until you're around people who are presenting a temptation. You don't know if you have love of dunya unless you're around your peers who are wealthier than you. And you're saying to yourself, wait a second, well, he's no different than me. Why is he wealthier than me? And now you need to get into the rat race for that. So you don't know if you have these diseases of the heart unless you mingle. But then now you need to be cured. Then you ping pong back from that to solitude to cure those sicknesses. Then you go back and you almost like test yourself again. When you mingle with people, these situations are going to come up again. Now how is my heart reacting? Then you ping pong back and forth. Better than solitude, if possible, is the shuyukh themselves. They're almost like emitting medicine in everything that they do. These are shuyukh who have done this, been around the block, been with the bigger shuyukh in a full chain of transmission back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They're the doctors of the hearts. So to ping pong between these three, between solitude, between the shuyukh, and between life and work and dawah and everything, you ping pong back and forth between these three things, that's going to bring the best result. And Allah knows best. A lot of stuff we have to talk about. If you want to attend the class that I'm about to teach right now in Tasawwuf, reading the book of Al-Habib Umar bin Salim bin Hafid, go to arcview.org and sign up there. You'll immediately get an email. Check your other inboxes for that. And then you could get onto the Zoom. I'm going to head onto there right now. Jazakumullahu khairan. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Kalbe şifa